All right. It is time for a deck profile. This time we're going to get into the ever beloved Exodia. And yeah, this was something I've been cooking up for the past couple weeks that I think is really fun. It's definitely not an incompetent strategy thanks to the inclusion of some broken engines in here. But yeah, I figure this is a good time as ever to debut this little deck profile and yeah, open myself up to any feedback that folks have and yeah, just showcase some of the fun I've been having here. So let's go ahead and do the card by card. We obviously have our five pieces of Exodia, the legendary Exodia himself, and then yeah, this is our win condition. We're gonna cheese out these normal pieces of Exodia using Treasure Panda, right? So this guy lets you banish spells and traps from your grave to special summon normal monsters from your deck. And we're just loading the grave up with spells. I mean, most of this deck is spells, more than half, I would say. And so the fact that, we're able to turbo out a bunch of spells means that as soon as we stick the panda, and really ideally you want to put the panda out after, especially if you're going second, after you've kind of chewed through your opponent's disruptions, this thing will kind of just get you to victory. It's going to spam out four monsters at best. And yeah, it'll get at least some of the bricks out of your deck. And then all you'll have to do is really draw the Exodia and some of the other pieces I'll showcase in a little bit. But yeah, so love ourselves some Treasure Panda. He's fantastic. We're going to obviously run three of that. And then the Summoner Monk is pretty nice because there's a few utility points with this card in particular. First and foremost, it is just two more copies of Treasure Panda, right? So you don't happen to open the Panda, no problem. You hit a Summoner Monk, you can just summon this out, and then you'll pitch a spell card to basically summon a level 4 monster from your deck, which will obviously be Treasure Panda. So that's cool and all, right? Two extra copies of Treasure Panda is great. But there's some additional synergy in this deck, in particular with Summoner Monk, because one, you're using him as a spellcaster as well, which is great. That'll be relevant for our Wonder Wands and our Spellbook of Knowledge, right? We're going to be sending our spellcasters off to draw additional cards, which is great. And then additionally, once you've gotten all of the value out of your Treasure Panda and you've brought them out with the Summoner Monk, these are two level 4s, which can absolutely be converted into more draws here. So yeah, lots of synergy with the Summoner Monk. So I'm a big fan of this card. Do you get stopped by Imperm on the Treasure Panda? Yeah, that sometimes happens, but so be it. You're playing a gimmicky deck in the first place. So I think this card's very, very welcome. Synergizes in a number of ways. So yeah, I'm liking the 5 copies of Treasure Panda for right now. I haven't really considered bumping Summoner Monk up to 3. I don't really want to see multiples. It already sucks when you're trying to dig into the last part of your deck and you just keep hitting pandas and monks when you really want to be, seeing your Exodia head. So I think 5 is fine for right now, just given how fast you're turboing through your deck in the first place. So yeah, we're on the 2 Summoner Monk, which is great. We do have the Magician Souls package in here. Spellcasters in this deck are a very welcome inclusion, but obviously the Souls has some additional synergy, right? Being able to send off your spells and traps, really spells, for additional draws is incredible. Draw engine's great. But if you can pitch cursed bamboo swords, you are feeling so good with this Magician Souls. So, yep, love the 1-in-1. I don't think you need more of this because, you're going to probably see one of these two pieces. Worst case, you see both. You can, still use the Souls to send off your Mesty, which is also a spellcaster, right? Souls need to send a level 6 or higher spellcaster from your deck to summon itself. And then, this deck actually really benefits from putting a bunch of bodies on the field. Saryuja lets you draw 4 cards. So turboing out bodies is definitely welcome here. So yeah, just the 1-in-1. Cute little package here. Don't really see the need to bump anything there. And then we get to the broken stuff. Yeah, I would be very surprised if this Horus engine survives a ban list or 2. It's literally everywhere, but because it's around, we're going to be playing it. I think this is probably the best way to be playing Exodia right now. You're able to use this as a draw card. It gets you to your King Sarcophagus. King Sarcophagus can load up your graveyard by basically getting rid of your bricks from your hand. So I'm a big fan of this Horus package in Exodia. So yeah, we're running the triple MSD because obviously you want to see this card. You want to be using it to search from King Sarcophagus and really kind of what I was saying in my previous video on this deck. The general premise is search before you draw, And so this card really does set that up well, because as soon as you get to King Sarcophagus, you're sending cards from your hand to the grave, so you're able to thin quite a bit, which is just fantastic. Not to mention, you do have these as level 8s, so we do have some level 8 synergies to draw, which is great. Love seeing that. So you can turn some of your dead copies into either, trade and fodder, or, you just get rid of them with the King Sarcophagus to load up your graveyard more, which is also totally respectable. We do have to play 2 additional names that aren't a Mesty here, so you just play these 2 guys, and these 3 names are basically all you need. They can all summon themselves from the grave once you've got King Sark. This searches your King Sarcophagus, and once you have 3 level 8s, you're drawing 3 cards, so that's pretty nice. But the level 8s don't just stop there in terms of their utility in this deck. This deck can definitely play going second, as I showcased earlier. It can chew through Disruption, through your rank 8 toolbox here, which is just fantastic. You can OTK. There's so many different lines that these open up that I really think that they're kind of mandatory if you want to be playing Exodia right now, in my opinion at least. And then outside of that, you have your 2 trade-ins. This is the card I'm a little wishy-washy on, to be honest. It's great, for getting especially these 2 bricks out of your hand and turning them into draws, which is, love to see that. But there are definitely times where you're not hitting level 8s, and you're sending all of your level 8s to the grave with King Sark, and then your trade-ins just turn into dead draws. So I'm not sure if I'm completely happy with the double trade-in. For right now, I think it's fine. I can't think of a better card to substitute in the meantime, especially because it's not a once per turn. You can use multiple copies of it in one turn, which is great. It's a draw engine. That's what you want to be doing in this deck in the first place. I'm happy with 2 for right now. We'll see if that ratio tweaks in the future. And then similarly, speaking of 2 copies, King Sark, we'll play this at 2. I've considered playing it at 3. It's not the worst, and perhaps the correct ratio is 3 King Sark and 1 trade-in. It just doesn't draw you cards inherently. So yes, it can set up your MSD, but there are definitely all of your Horus cards really. But there are definitely times where you have like key pieces in your hand that you don't want to get rid of. One of which is the head itself, the Exodia the Forbidden one. This one you don't want to send to the grave. There is a way to recur it, in worst case, if you do have to send it. And there are going to be times in which you have to give up on the Exodia strategy entirely. Horus Engine definitely allows you to just play the game as kind of a grindy strategy instead. But yeah, I think 2 is fine for now. Definitely want to bump it up from 1 because there are going to be times where you want to use your MST to search the other copy. Having 2 is great because if your opponent stops 1, you can get the other one. So I think 2 at minimum is fine. I think I'm going back and forth on whether or not 3 is correct. So that's your Horus package, plus a couple of level 8s to trade-ins to draw. I'm a huge fan of this package. Not too much more to say there. Golden Bamboo, Cursed Bamboo, and Original Bamboo kind of comprises most of your Bamboo engine, with the Foolish Burial Goods, of course. These are just Pot of Greeds as long as you have a Bamboo Sword. These obviously can kind of count as that Bamboo Sword, but really you want to be sending these to the graveyard, either with your King Sarcophagus, which is just incredible. You can use your Magician's Souls to send these to the graveyard. You can equip this to a monster, and then link that monster off to trigger this thing. It's great, but the reason you're playing 3 rather than like the 3-2-1 ratio of old is you're playing this Original Bamboo Sword card, which is just incredible. This basically eliminates the need to play Broken Bamboo Sword, which was literally just like this monster gains 0 attack, a useless equip spell, but it was a Bamboo Sword card in name. So you're now searching the original Bamboo off of the Cursed. Cursed can't search itself, unfortunately, so once it hits the graveyard, you're either grabbing Golden Bamboos if you already have access to another Bamboo Sword. Otherwise, you're grabbing the original. And original is incredible. It can send itself to the graveyard once it's equipped, and then you can equip a different Bamboo equip spell from your deck to a face-up card, a monster on your field. And so this will just grab another copy of the Cursed Bamboo, which is why you want to play 3. So having the 1 Original Bamboo is fantastic. Really, really opens this deck up. It deck thins, plus it grabs another Bamboo Sword for an equip, which then turns on your Golden Bamboos. Love this ratio here. And then just the 1 goods. I don't want to play 2 because you're definitely going to be going through your deck. This is a hard once per turn, so if you happen to see it, great. If you don't, no worries. But almost every time this is sending Cursed Bamboo to either grab the sword if you don't have it, or if you do have the original, then you're going for the Goldens. So love the Foolish here. And then Upstart Goblins. For some reason, this is now at 3, so you're playing it at 3, which now means you're playing a 37 card deck. Incredible for Exodia. This is the one once per turn card that I don't know. I go back and forth on a little bit. It's so good when it resolves, because this can theoretically draw you 3 cards, and it's sending your bricks from your hand to your grave, right? So you have quite a few bricks in this deck. I'm not gonna lie. Besides the pieces of Exodia and these 2 guys here, you're looking at least 6 bricks. So getting rid of those, sending those to the graveyard is incredible. And that's the best part of this deck is, yes, you have a lot of bricks, but those are very much welcome in the graveyard. So sending these to the grave off of the popper up is really no big deal at all. I have it at 2 just because it's so good. And worst case, like, this might be your only draw spell. Some of your other cards, like like the Bamboo Engine, requires 2 cards and stuff. And this is just, you pitch your dead cards to draw. So this is why I'm at 2 right now. Could potentially tweak this, put it down to 1. I definitely don't want to go less than 1 for now. There's a bunch of other effects on this popper-up card that really don't matter. You're using it to draw 3 cards, and then you're going to take some burn damage. That is something to note, especially if you are, unable to finish your Exodia combo. You might be opening yourself up. You can also kill yourself with this card if you're way deep into your deck. You have a ton of cards in your hand, but this deck in particular actually doesn't end with a ton of cards in hand. You're mostly loading the graveyard to get to your Dark Factory, which I'll get to in just a second. So then we have just a couple cards to round out this draw engine here. These 3 cards are kind of why we love spellcasters in this deck. For one, all of the Exodia pieces are spellcasters. So as your Treasure Panda is turboing these out, that all of these 3 cards right here can turn those pieces. They can turn Emesti, they can turn the Summoner Monk or even the Magician Souls into extra draws. So really like to see this. I like the Knowledge at 1 because it's a hard once per turn. Wands can be at 2 because it's not a once per turn. I think 3 is definitely going to be bricky, but 2 is nice because you're going to be most often sticking quite a few spellcasters on your board, and so turning those into draws is incredible. The consideration you have is you want to leave at least 4 monsters on your field for your extra deck shenanigans. But you're going to have a surplus anyways, and so this will turn those surplus spellcasters into additional draws to get deeper. 1 day apiece, not much to really say here. This guarantees you a second draw. I've had games where people just keep giving me this card from the grave, which is incredible. So this is really just a draw 2. This will save you, especially going second. This is great. It can bait and disruption. Definitely should not be at more than 1. So I think having it limited to 1 makes sense. But you're obviously going to be playing this card. The obvious downside here is you are giving your opponent a draw, so they could hit a hand trap, which is less than ideal. But I still think it warrants playing this card because they're only getting 1 additional card, and not only are you getting an additional card as well, but nobody's taking damage until your next turn. So you're guaranteed to live if this card resolves. Then we have the last part of this win condition. So you win in this deck when you have these 3 cards in your hand and your Exodia pieces in the graveyard. So this is essentially the combo. Once you've drawn all 3 of these and your pieces are engraved, you win if your opponent doesn't have a way to stop you. Obviously, there's tons of ways to stop Exodia in the grave. Bestials are a thing. DD Crow is the thing. Many people are playing those cards, but that being said, this is the win condition. So primary win condition, that is. Horus definitely allows you to have multiple win conditions. You can certainly win by attacking your opponent, by setting up disruptions, by just kind of grinding them out. There are additional ways to win if your Exodia gets stopped, but more often than not, the first turn kill with this deck is set up your head, double factory with your pieces engraved. You're doing just fine. But as you can see here, there is a full extra deck, and all of these cards are actually very relevant for one reason or another. So I'll go ahead and get into these as well, and then we even have a side because why not? You're playing a gimmicky deck. You're probably going to lose a lot of your matches, but why not play a match? Why not, have a best 2 out of 3 and throw your opponent off a little bit? So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the extra deck here. We have 2 copies of Saryuja. I originally had this at 3, but this deck just does not have the gas to put out 12 monsters. You can get to 8 actually pretty easily, and the reason I'm saying that is because you want 4 monsters on your field to then link off into the Saryuja to get your draw effect. That is incredible. The fact that it's not once per turn too is just really mind-boggling. But yeah, draw 4 cards, place 3 on the bottom of from your hand on the bottom of the deck in any order. It's just incredible. This card alone like almost helps you set up your combo every time. You put back the dead cards that aren't doing anything, and you're drawing cards that are going to do exactly what you want them to do. In addition to this insane draw effect, you also have this +2. So all these right are just based on how many monsters you're using for this link summon. You want to use 4 every time, right? You want to trigger that draw effect, but this effect, if which you'll always get if you're using 4 monsters, is incredibly relevant from summoning monsters from your hand, because you can use this to turbo out additional spellcasters, or just go into your Summoner Monk again. Because like I said, having your Summoner Monk just bring out another copy of itself or Treasure Panda means 2 level 4s, and 2 level 4s means more draws. So yeah, double Saryuja, I think it's a absolute mandatory inclusion here. And I don't think 3 really is warranted, because you're never sticking 12 monsters on the field with this deck anyways. At least in none of the testing I've done that has come up. It has gas for sure. It does not have that much gas to turbo out monsters. Half your deck is spells, remember, so most of it is really just draw power. So Saryuja is just incredible. Absolutely the best card in your extra deck. Then we have a couple of utility cards here. We Witch is a situational card that really is just an insurance policy if you want to keep going for Exodia and you have to get rid of your head, right? There's no way to really recur the head from the graveyard. Dark Factory only adds normal monsters. So if you are going second, you have to use the head, let's say as, popper up material, or, for some reason it's getting sent to the graveyard off of your King Sark because you need to get level 8s to break your opponent's board. You actually do have a backup strategy here to get the head back in your hand. And this is it. So, if you're unable to Witch the head back to your hand, you're not going for Exodia. But it's there, so if the head does go to the grave, you do have a way to get it back, worst case. Buffing your dark monsters, I just don't think that's going to be coming up. But yeah, what you would do is basically, set up, you have to send the head to the grave, you'll set this up, crash it into your opponent's monster, grab the head back, and then ideally win once you add that head. So that is one way to recur, specifically the head. It's really the only reason Witch is in here. And then Dark serves almost a similar purpose, but this is searching from your deck. So this is more of like a going second option. But let's say you need to you want to search your head. Let's say you've got the double factory plus all the normal monsters set up through Treasure Panda. If you're able to just set up the dark and crash, this says if it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to add a dark monster with 15 or 100 or less defense. This certainly has less, so this can search the head from your deck. So this is grabbing the head from your grave, this is grabbing the head from your deck, or it could grab any of the other pieces, but typically you want to use Treasure Panda for that. So yeah, these two I think serve not only that utility of recycling or searching the head respectively, Witch and Dark, but also these can clear your zones. So there have definitely been times where you're getting clogged on Horus monsters with all of your forbidden ones, and you want to keep using your Treasure Panda before having to go into Saryuja to draw, because again, the general premise of this deck is you want to search first, then draw. So using Link 2s is also very helpful in doing that. And Dark is a little bit more generic because it says 2 monsters, including a dark monster, whereas Witch says 2 darks. So a little more specific for the Witch. I personally have never summoned it, but it's there in case I need to recycle the head. And both of these are here really to clear your zones, worst case. Then we have some Link 1s here. So obviously Link Karibo is just nice to get rid of your level 1s here. You've got 5 level 1s in the deck, souls plus the 4 limbs, and then and this can also kind of protect you theoretically. So let's say you're going first, can't get to Exodia in time, you definitely want to end on Link Karibo. And then going second, you have the Relinquished Anima, which is, same thing. You just take a level 1 monster, but this can snatch your opponent's monsters and suck them on up. Just like the old Relinquished, but no ritual summoning required. So now we have the Link Spider. This is kind of situational, but I really see this as the extender. So, let's say you treasure panda your way into a bunch of these normal pieces of Exodia, normal monsters meaning no effect. The Link Spider can, summon normal monsters from your hand. So if you happen to have pieces in your hand and you want to use those as fodder for, let's say, a Saryuja or something, because you need to get to your factories, you need to get to the head, the Link Spider is just kind of an extender for that. So that's really the only purpose it has. It hasn't come up for me yet, but it's theoretically there. So if you need to extend to get to a Saryuja, to get your draws going, this can help you out there a little bit. Which almost seems counterintuitive at first, right? Like, shouldn't you keep your Exodia pieces in your hand? Yes, normally, but in this deck, right, all of the normal pieces of Exodia actually better in the graveyard because you can always recycle them with the Dark Factory, and the bodies on the field are just so good to convert into draws that I think it's too good to pass up. So we've got the one Link Spider, and then I'm actually going to talk about Dugaris first here. So rank 4s, the 2 level 4 monsters every time it's being made off of the Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk is either summoning Treasure Panda if you don't have access to it, or let's say you've gone through all of your Exodia pieces, you're then using Summoner Monk to, you could summon another panda if it's in your deck and it's in your deck, or summon another Summoner Monk because Saryuja lets you summon from the hand, right? So obviously you can use your spellcasters to draw, as I was talking about with our spells, but in addition to that, let's say you don't have spells to draw, but you do have these 2 level 4s, you can then convert those into Dugaris, and the main Dugaris effect that I think is most relevant is the draw effect. However, Dugaris is just that good, in my opinion, because yes, it draws, which is incredible, but also it can double the attack of one monster you control. So if you're able to stick this on the field, and let's say you're going second and you're like, screw Exodia, I'm trying to kill my opponent, this thing can double the attack of your Numeron Dragon for like a devastating blow. So obviously you're using it as a draw engine first, but Exodia gets stopped. Oh no, you might be using this to pull off a sneaky one turn kill instead. Baguska is a going first option if your Exodia gets stopped and you need to survive a turn before you can kind of really, set up a one turn kill with your Horus package. Baguska, by the way, loving the OCG artwork here where he's all wasted on, non-pillows. Basically, the kind of the modern art of Baguska or the TCG art of Baguska is less fun, in my opinion. Oh, he's terribly tired. Look at his pillows. No, I like the OCG art a lot better. I think it's a little raunchier, a little funnier. But yeah, the reason we're playing this guy is, he's still rank 4, so you're going to use your Summoner Monk plus either another copy of Summoner Monk or a Treasure Panda, and you'll overlay those and then put this guy in defense, and then this guy's kind of like a walking floodgate. While this card's in defense, you'll change all face-up monsters on the field to defense, negate their activated effects here. So, your opponent's not going to kill you, more likely than not, if you're setting up Baguska, which is great. So, yeah, this is kind of really just an insurance policy if you need it, and your Exodia gets stopped and you want to live your next turn and you're going first. Then we have our rank 8 package here. Now, this thing is really just incredible. This is why the Horus monsters are so good, in my opinion. Yes, they do a lot on their own. They're big. They can attack. Kingstark protects them. That's great and all. The utility that these provide in terms of your rank 8 and just the pool of rank 8s in general in Yu-Gi-Oh! is just staggering. And so, Giant Trainer is the one that you're going to be making more often than not. He's really, really the guy that's going to keep you going here, and this is the main reason you're playing the Horus package, is this is a draw 3. Incredible. You're burning your opponent if you happen to hit monsters. Doesn't really matter. It is somewhat relevant that you can't use your battle phase. I've definitely gotten tripped up by that in the past. So good to know that if you are trying to use this guy to draw, you might not be going for game that turn. But that being said, I think this is incredible. I had it at 2 for a while, but it never really comes up. I think that having this at 1 is fine, and it makes more space for better offensive rank 8s. So yeah, I think that keeping this at 2 for right now is more than enough. And then now we have kind of the offensive ones. Dingirsu is incredible. Not only do I have a personal love for Orcust, it's one of the first competitive strategies I use in a tournament, but Dingirsu can just out stuff. He takes 2 level 8s. When it's special summoned, meaning that if you happen to bring it back from the graveyard, which you never are in this deck, but if it's special summoned, in this case XYZ summoned, you can send a card your opponent controls to the graveyard, which is great for outing things, and then it protects itself and everything else on your field twice, because you'll have two materials under this thing. So protects from battle or card effects. Really, really nice card. Definitely good for trying to live another turn. But, besides just outing stuff, there are even better options. So Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord is kind of like your protector. This is the one I use in the replay for stopping monster effects. It's good. This can definitely kind of set you up. Let's say you don't need to use your Horus package. You're pretty close to getting Exodia. You have a bunch of draw power still in your hand. You can set this up, especially if you're going second. Even if you're going first, you might even consider setting this up just to kind of insulate yourself from some monster effects. Granted, you can only do this once per turn, so it's at best only stopping one monster effect. You're not destroying two, because you're not using a Galaxy card as material. You're just using your Horus monsters as level 8s. But this is a nice little negate guy. You can you can put him in defense. He's got 3,000 defense. That's pretty nice. One of your kind of going first options that, if your Exodia gets stopped, you're probably going to want to end on this guy. Alternatively, you might want to stop spells and traps. So this is kind of the flip side of Galaxy Eyes is the Hope Harbinger, which can stop spell cards and attaches them to it once it negates. So that's nice and all. He can kind of stop your opponent's spells, which is great, especially if you're playing into a board. They have got like a really good spell in their field. You're like, I gotta stop this. Let's say like Runic or something like that. You might want to put up this guy first. But more often than not, this is actually just fodder for your Draglubion. So this is the last part of the extra deck that really, really, increases the power level. And this is why the rank 8 package is so good, because any 2 rank 8s is almost always game in battle phase if you're setting it up correctly with Draglubion. So your opponent can't target it, so you're not getting stopped by Imperm or Nibiru, or not, no, you'll Imperm or Effect Veiler. Nibiru absolutely just destroys this deck. So unless you're setting up a Galaxy Eyes, in which case you're 5-head for doing that. But yeah, your opponent Nibiru's you just cry. But let's say they don't have Nibiru, you're using Draglubion to turn your 2 level 8s into this guy, and then this thing's effect says you'll detach 1 material from this card, and then you'll take 2 dragon number monsters from your extra deck and summon one of them and then attach the other as material. So you'll summon your Numeron Dragon and attach the Hope Harbinger as material. And Numeron Dragon is kind of what enables your 1-turn kills through battle phase, because this thing's just ridiculous. You detach 1 material from this card, and its attack becomes the attack equal to the combined ranks of all XYZ monsters on your field times 1,000. So, worst case, you only have the Draglubion and the Numeron Dragon. This thing is still going to 9,000 attack. It's getting the 8 ranks from Draglubion and the 1 rank from itself, times 1,000. That's 9,000. That's a lot of damage. So yeah, this thing can absolutely just demolish your opponent out of nowhere, especially if they left something face up and attack. And then if you have the Dugaris set up too on your field, ooh, that is just tons of damage. 18,000 damage theoretically that you could set up, with this Numeron. No, oh, actually, what am I talking about? Even more, because you would also get the attack boost from Dugaris as well, because he's also an XYZ. So yeah, Numeron Dragon is kind of really what pushes this deck into like not competitive really. It's still gimmicky as all hell, but this gives you just one more option to push for game in games you really shouldn't be winning. The fact that you can just turn your 2 level 8s into a Draglubion, and then this guy just summons out the Numeron Dragon, just insane, just ridiculous. This is why Blue Eyes monsters are still so good right now, because rank 8s or level 8 monsters just turn into this guy out of nowhere and just steal games. So yeah, I think this extra deck is super solid. It's getting a little tight just because there's so much I'm trying to do here in terms of draw power, in terms of defensive capabilities, in terms of 1-turn kill, OTK options. I think that this is pretty well rounded, and there's a couple flex spots. Do we need the Dingirsu? Maybe not. Do we need this Link Spider or the Wee Witch? It's debatable, but I personally think that each thing in here it serves a specific purpose. So for right now, I'm happy with it. Let's go ahead and get into the side deck. Let's say you're playing a match, right? You'll be in between games 2 and games 3. If you're happy to go to game 3, you'll get to sub out cards from your main deck and side deck. So as long as your main deck count stays the same, you can swap out cards from your side deck. So this is really built for a number of different scenarios. So if you, let's say, win the dice roll, you're going first, great. Or I guess in this on Dueling Nexus, it's rock paper scissors. But yeah, let's say you happen to win that and you're going first, or you're then going into the side deck for game 2. You're probably just throwing these in if you don't know what your opponent is on, because you're just trying to get to Exodia. So if you happen to hit that, you're chilling. So with that, this kind of lets you play through most stuff. So double lightning storm, this is just insane. Destroy all your opponent's attack positions, monsters, or spells and traps. Get rid of their floodgates. Play the game. Dark ruler, same thing. If you're going second and you're trying to hit Exodia, you don't care about killing your opponent. And not to mention, if they're setting up a bunch of monster negates, let's just choose through them all. They can't respond to Dark Ruler. So these are incredible board breakers. So the board breakers are kind of a main strategy for going second. However, this deck also does have a few other options. So there are a few other first turn kills, and you might even be playing a mirror match where somebody's playing Exodia as well. You might need to stop them if you're going second, or and they're just comboing off. So these cards should theoretically prevent you from getting FTK'd, especially Droll and Lockbird. This doesn't let your opponent or you add cards from the deck to the hand. So these should theoretically be your insurance policy. Hand traps. I'll add that back. Let's get the imperm here. Yeah, a little bit of an insurance policy here for if your opponent's on an FTK as well. And then, I don't know, I had a little extra spots. Maybe there's, an argument to be made to play more board breakers, and I'm definitely considering that still. I think evenly matched could be interesting here. But I'm kind of what are the more aggressive level 8s? And I love dangers, personally. So, we're playing the Thunderbird and the Bigfoot. This chews through back row, this chews through monsters, and they're just big, too. And they're level 8s that summon themselves, and they can draw cards. What's not to love? So, yeah, we got a little very small danger package. No multiples. I thought about playing, double Bigfoot, double Thunderbird, but it really, really sucks when you see multiples of these guys in your hand. So we're just playing one of each because Nessie can turn into any other danger, and the Jackalope summons, from the deck. So, these are kind of ensuring you're sticking level 8s. And, Thunderbird and Bigfoot in particular are breaking boards as well. So there is the deck profile for Exodia, Modern Exodia, Horus Exodia. It is gimmicky, it's cheesy, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. Let's run a test hand. Why not? Let's just see what happens. Let's just play through, and I can talk through some of the decision making with this deck in particular. So, general premise here, right, is search before you draw. So let's go ahead and search, starting with the Emesti here. This is the only search we have available to us. And we're going to go ahead and actually get rid of the Happy in hand, because these two could theoretically become draws. And like I was saying earlier, you don't want to get rid of the head. And since we're going first, you have no way of getting it back if it hits the graveyard. So let's go ahead and use the Emesti. See if we can get lucky here. All right, and then we get to search King Sark and draw a card. Dark Factory. Okay, not so lucky, in fact, because, now we have 2 of our 3 pieces of our win condition, but we see them too early. So we're going to go ahead and activate the King Sark, and I think we're going to go ahead. Oh. So the option here is we can either send Golden Bamboo or use the 1 day of peace. I'm going to use 1 day first. Let's see if we can get something a little bit better in hand. Oh, incredible. So this is great because now we hit the other part of our bamboo engine. So now we don't actually need to pitch the Golden Bamboo and do our whole King Sark play. We're going to absolutely turn this Golden Bamboo into a Pot of Greed. So we'll Foolish for our Curse, and then Curse will go ahead and grab Original here. And this is the equip that we're trying to get. And so now we're going to go ahead and bring out one of our Horus monsters, doesn't matter which for right now, and we'll use Original on the Amesti here. And Original will activate its effect to grab another Equip Bamboo from the deck. We'll target Amesti to equip it, and now our Golden Bamboo is a Pot of Greed. Fire away. Not great, but the fact that we hit another Cursed is actually great because we can use King Sark, send it, get rid of the last Horus name, and then use Cursed Bamboo in the grave to grab another golden. Incredible. Now, before we fire off this golden, to keep the premise of this, we do want to search before we draw. This right arm is actually doing nothing in our hand, and we can thin the deck a little bit with King Sark. 4 times per turn. Just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. I would imagine Amesti's probably going to get hit. I don't think they'll ban King Sark right away, but I would imagine Amesti might get taken care of. It's a little too good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pitch the arm to thin our deck just a little bit. And yeah, now we're ready to Pot of Greed again. Aha! Here it is. Trade in actually came up. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and trade in our extra copy. We've already used the Amesti's effect. It's just rotting in our hand. So now let's turn it into a draw 2. Okay, still not really seeing good draw power besides our Horus monsters, which can go into the Coach King. So I think that's our next option here. Is we're really gonna have to use Coach King to hopefully unbrick ourselves here. We're starting to run out of gas. So let's see how we do. Coach King. Of course, since the monster we had equipped has gone to grave, we'll grab the last bamboo, and now this is just a spell. So what would be really great is if we saw a panda off of one of these 3 draws with Coach King. So let's see. Upstart. Still no way to search, so we're just going to keep drawing off of Coach King, and then the upstart is an additional draw here. Worst case, we can normal summon the left arm and use our Wonder Wand to get a little deeper. I would like to avoid that at all costs, though, if we can. Oof, not great. Still no way to search, but upstart is the next best thing. There's our panda guy. We got him. All right, let's go ahead and turbo out the remaining pieces from the deck. Just the legs. All right, get rid of another spell. Now, this is interesting. So I would love to use this Wonder Wand, and we do need to get this left arm out of our hand. So this is actually a great excuse to use our Link Spider to yoink this guy out of the hand, and we can still use one of these little spellcasters for fodder with the Wonder Wand and still have 4 monsters left on the field for our Saryuja. So let's go ahead and Wonder Wand. Okay, and a Summoner Monk is great because once we make it our Saryuja, that the Saryuja can then bring out the Summoner Monk, which will then get our rank 4s going here. So yeah, I think it's Saryuja time, because then we can put back some of our bricks here. Let's just upstart. I just love upstart. Let's see what we can hit here. Illusion. Okay, this is great, because now we can deck thin a little bit before we start drawing more cards off of the Saryuja. So let's go ahead and we'll use the illusion to search, and then it puts 1 card back on the top of your deck, so we'll put itself there, and then we'll use Magician's Souls to immediately send it so we don't accidentally draw it. So we'll bring out the souls, which is great. I think what we'll do is we'll Saryuja using these 4. We're going to keep the souls, because this can also draw cards, so let's not forget that as well. So I think it's Saryuja time. I think we're going to go ahead and climb on up into that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 for Saryuja. ridiculous. Draw 4 cards. Insane. All right, and then for putting stuff back, we want to be a little strategic here. Let's go ahead and put back 1 panda, 1 monk. All we need is the 1, to bring off. And then let's put back golden bamboo. It's really not doing anything. These will all go to the bottom of our deck. Now we are going to want to draw before we start searching off the summoner monk because the cards we put back are all dead. So let's see if we can get to that second factory. Money. Just money. All right. And that's it. We don't need to keep going. Obviously, we have the gas to do so, but no need. Obliterate! Fun stuff. Hope y'all enjoyed.